So now the next process we'll be looking at is labeling. In many ways, this process functions very differently from the other processes that we have looked at thus far. For starters, this process receives all of its data from the other processes and is charted to present it meaningfully to our end users. Let's take a look at what this data set is. And like before, I've extracted this from the center and placed it against this data source. In regards to performance at a very high level, we have our classical data sets such as use-related information for a subject device. This includes indications for use, precautions, and your typical use task. For safety, you have to disclose your residual risks and highlight any risk controls that we would like our end users to know in order to reduce or eliminate specific residual risks. Let's put this in perspective with a simple real-world example and try to understand how these linkages into the design history file and the risk management files take place. Here you can see that we have attempted to create an IFU for a coffee cup, following the format of a typical IFU for a medical device. You have your classic intended use for the cup, a general warning that you may have seen, contraindications, precautions to eliminate reduced risk, adverse events, side effects, all the typical stuff that you are likely to see in a medical device IFU. Now, I'm going to overlay the safety and performance tags, the theme that we've been following so far, and you can see for yourself how these various data sets match up to the safety and performance of your intended finished device. In this case, again, the coffee cup. Now, tracing this information to its source, we can see that the intended use is confirmed by our design validation studies, and this information is typically stored in the design control process. Warnings can trace directly to your hazard analysis document. Now, as you can imagine, while we may have assessed several hazards in this document, it is pertinent to use the risk-based approach to determine which hazards out of those several hazards we need to disclose into the IFU or potentially even physically on the device. Because we all know the real estate in these two items, the IFU or the device, is very limited. Contraindications as a last resort can help us determine off-label use if there is no way to design out the risk associated with these contraindications. Moving on to precautions next, we can see that the design team designed these components to protect our end users from the hot liquids. Now, if we intend to claim that our precautions are risk controls that indeed reduce risk, then we must have both design verification testing and usability testing to corroborate this claim. Adverse events, side effects, as we all know, tie directly to our risk management file. And in our case, we have traced it to that one central document I spoke about earlier, that is the hazard analysis document. Of course, this is a rather simplistic example. Our medical devices are much more nuanced, but I hope this shows how data in the labeling process is intimately connected to all the other processes that we have looked at thus far.